Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tommy here, and I'm a trans Latino queer man living in Florida. I hope you guys are having a great week. I am having an okay week. I just came off a conference with HRC, went to the HRC Quality and Action Conference, and it was a great experience for me. I hadn't been out of Florida for a long time, mainly because, of work. And when you travel as much as I have when you were a kid, you're not that like, oh my God, let's go somewhere as you get older to adulthood. So I had a great time. It was not only a good time in terms of like, okay, I'm not working, but it was also very healing for me. And I realized while I was there, I had like little to no anxiety. So just to goes to show how much my anxiety is situational and not so much like in my head. So that was pretty cool. I know some people have issues with HRC mainly because they took a long time to even get in the fight in terms of trans people. And I get that, a lot of things actually when it comes to civil rights are not that old. People are like, oh my God, we're progressing, but a lot of our progress is still less than 100 years old, especially when it comes to women's rights and LGBT rights. So some of the backlash that we're getting and stuff like that is really from people, a generation of people that don't like change, and are not used to the changes that have happened. Women being more independent, not needing a man, gay people being able to live their lives openly and freely, and then trans people started to do the same. And, then we got this huge backlash. And I just think it's not necessarily because anything's wrong. I think people are just resistant to change. So, in my humble opinion, it's just a matter of like, wait, be calm, continue to fight, and don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Of course, that's easy for me to say because the amount of privilege that I have, right? But I also think that I live in Florida and we are one of the worst in terms of anti-T stuff that's going on. So that's my hill, and I'm gonna live on it for a little while. But I bring this up because at the convention there was a person there who was challenging people to go to the other side of the aisle and kind of meet people where they're at. Some people, I have the sniffles, excuse me. Some people viewed what she said as problematic and combative, right? Some people, like myself, were like, yeah, this is an uncomfortable conversation to have, but we have to have it because the way that our siblings, our gay brothers and sisters won the right to marry wasn't because liberals were so many liberals were on board. It was because we were reaching across the aisle, and Republicans also got on board and were like, we don't want to, like, this is dumb, like, let them get married, it's fair, but and it took a minute, right? It took a minute, but it happened, and yeah, I know there's some people that want to take us back. Again, people are resistant to change, and there are certain organizations that because of their religious beliefs are always going to be a thorn in our side. That's just the reality of it all. But at the least, it could be like a small thorn and not this like big, huge thorn on your side that you can barely breathe. You know, so we can deafen that. But it got me thinking of this very important conversation that I'm going to have with you, and I'm going to preface this with, it's uncomfortable. I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but just entertain this for a little bit and see how you can apply it. And if you can't, cool, let it stick, like go, and we can move on to other things, right? So here we go. We are a small community, and in order for us to really win these fights, we need allies. We need people to fight in our corner. Some of those people are going to have to be slowly brought over. What I mean by that is there are some people in your life that maybe just don't have the education, misunderstand the trans experience, think the worst of us because of all the disinformation and misinformation that's been out there. But you could possibly get them to side with you a little bit if you're just patient and you walk them out in their shoes and learn to communicate. right? So a long time ago, I took something called the Communication Solutions course at the Yes Institute here in Miami. If you want a life-changing, life-altering course and as something that's educational, that's going to really help you and it's applicable to your life in a lot of areas because communication is very important, then look up the Yes Institute here in Miami. I mean, that particular communication solution class is like life altering, and I've taken it more than one time. I think that that class was the reason why I was able to get my family on board. And if you know a little bit about my story, my family was religious, right? I am a pastor's kid. So here are a couple of things that you want to implement that I've learned over the course of years and how to communicate with people that you don't necessarily agree with. And I think this is very, very important in these particular times. When people start saying anti-trans stuff, we're like, I don't agree with this and da da da. I think the first thing you want to do is react, right? Don't react. Start asking questions. What about you don't you like? And continue to ask questions. Don't even like you can rebuttal, right? But rebuttal would be like starting an argument, starting a heated discussion. Don't start any heated discussions. Just continue to ask questions, and you'll start to see that they probably A, haven't asked themselves those questions. B, they've never thought about it more than surface level, and C, they're also being reactionary, right? Other thing you could do is just be like, yeah, like I don't really want kids to mutilate themselves. And the truth is that we don't want kids to mutilate themselves either. So then you could just be like, I understand. You want you want kids to be safe. I don't want kids to mutilate themselves either. And then you just kind of like not necessarily agree with everything they're saying, but just kind of let them know you heard them. Eventually, the walls come down and you can actually start a conversation. But here's the opposite of what you could do and why I think that it's a bad idea. Man, trans rights, all this trans stuff is horrible. No, it's not horrible. Right? And so therefore you start a fight, right? And when you have two people fighting, there's no real communication. There's just like, I'm gonna win or you're gonna win. I'm gonna win or you're gonna win. And you can very well be right, but would you rather be right or would you rather be understood? Would you rather be right or would you rather communicate? Because I think some of us are very invested in being right and not invested in communication, right? Because not every person that you meet that is currently anti-trans is really so far on the edge that you can't reel them in. Now, with that, I'm going to say there are some people who are not worth the communication. They want to own the libs. They don't really care about much except hurting you. And those people we leave and we don't communicate with. We don't even try. But there are some people who are neutral that you can get to being more active. More some people who are passive. There's some people who are not necessarily against or for, right? But they don't understand the impact of some things that are going on. Those people are definitely salvageable, and you can get them to at least hear us out, right? What we need is to grab allies. What we need is to get our stories out and start taking control of the narrative. But we cannot do that if we continue to fight with people. We can only do that if we have an opportunity to communicate. I hope I'm making a good point. I hope you're getting what I'm putting down. So just think about that. Also, don't forget that every third Friday of the month, I do facilitate a support group called Transcendence. You can find the website at trans-miami.com if I'm not mistaken, or you can just simply send me a little DM and we could talk and I can get you into the group. The group is basically a support and empowerment group. It's not just for people to sit there and boo-hoo, but it's definitely a place where you can find support, community, and sometimes even resources. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good one and I'll see you next time.